All right, so let's make a formal introduction for our listener. Good afternoon, Stefano. My name is Claudio. I'm calling you from Washington, D.C., from the studios in Fairfax City. We're very humble and grateful that Stefano Mainetti accepted our invitation to our show. Stefano, welcome to the show, man.
Hi, Claudio. Hi, Claudio. My pleasure. Thanks for your invitation. Thank you.
No problem. So let's start with the beginning, with the COVID that has affected everybody. I don't know, for a year and a half, touring musician, composer, film scorer, cannot play outside, they cannot do tour. People like me that like to go to show, they can not go that much until now. How the COVID has affected you, your family, your sanity, your your real life?
Yeah. I mean, Claudio, it was still is a very strange time. I am often alone because, writing music, when you compose, you are alone in your studio. So there wasn't much different from the past. But as soon as the pandemic started, all the production quitted. That was a great problem. And so did my score production. I mean, and I was lucky because I continued to teaching music at the Conservatory, Santa Cecilia Conservatory in Rome, of course, in distant teaching mode, via internet. Anyway, I think the effect of the pandemic have been worse for my daughter. She actually has 16, and for her generation was really tough. I mean, they lost great part of the fun for almost a couple of years. And this is really sad. Yeah. I mean, as I told you, most part of my life is alone in a studio, writing music, composing music. And so I'm 64, so there is no much difference because I was every time writing music, and it didn't change too much for me. But I'm very worried about my daughter and her generation. That's what's really tough for them.
Yeah, not even able to go to school online, not able to see the friends. It's difficult. Yeah. The young people.
Yeah, it's difficult when you are 14, 15, 16. It's difficult. It's tough.
Yeah, but they will need to adjust. I mean, like any generation will adjust, and we're living in crazy times,
Yeah.
For me, affected me because I couldn't go and see shows. Bands were canceling on the tour. So here in Washington D.C., everything started a couple of weeks ago. So out of September 1st, all the venues open. So I'm able to see a couple of shows a week. I see
now
40 shows a year. So I'm happy, but it was difficult. So and also in a way, because as a computer engineer, I was working from home. Give me the sense of to understand what is important in life, the important stuff. I was going so fast in my life, and now I needed to slow down for a year and a half or 2 years. And I thought, well, maybe this is not important in my life. I really like music. I like the radio. I wanna do that. And I have hundreds of CDs that I was buying and vinyl, and I began listening to my own stuff, So in a way, wasn't too bad, but it wasn't easy for many people.
Yeah.
Were you born like in a musical family? How old were you when you began playing, I don't know, guitar or taking, piano lessons?
No, I came from an entrepreneurial family. No musician in my family. I got a birthday present when I was 7, just a guitar. And I remember I spent a lot of time with this guitar. So my mother and my father decided okay, it's better you study music. Maybe it's better you start to study classic guitar. And I started when I was 8 with classic guitar. Later on, I studied piano and composition. I remember, Claudio, the passion I had for the music, and also this passion helped me when I was a kid, and a boy too, to communicate with other people better than with the words. I realized that the music was very powerful, and music doesn't need translations. I mean, you can easily transmit emotions to everyone without translation.
Yeah.
And I still feel today this sensation. No filters between you and the other, straight to the heart. So it's wonderful. And when I was a kid, of course, I loved music because I loved classic guitar and composition. But I remember the very important thing was to communicate with the other people with no filters. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Just directly. And the music is a power instruments that let you go straight ahead to the brain, to the heart, to the people directly.
Yeah, absolutely. For example, you can be in Japan where you don't understand Japanese, they don't speak Italian. It wouldn't make a difference. They are listening to your music, a film score,
Of course.
and they love it.
I don't speak Japanese or Russian language, but if I want to say I love you to a girl in Russian, I just write I love theme, and she can very well understand.
Don't tell that to your wife, though.
No, I promise.
No,
I promise.
I'm joking. Yeah. And so what kind of music were you listening at the time when you were in the conservatory, when you finished high school? It was kind of classical music. I mean, I know you're a fan of Richard Wagner, but when you were 14, 16, like your daughter's age, right? Were you listening to rock and roll stuff, or you have an appetite for classical?
Everything, Claudio. I mean, all kind of music, classic, jazz, pop. I remember when I was in my 15, the afternoons during the 17th, with my friends, listening to Genesis.
Oh yeah.
Selling England by the Pound.
That's very good.
Foxtrot, or wow. Pink Floyd, King Crimson. And Chicago too. I remember I loved Chicago. You remember the group Chicago?
Oh yeah.
And later on, Manhattan Transfer, Earth, Wind and Fire was my passion. I also love science fiction film. So I love the score from that kind of movies. So you remember the movies like The Day the Earth Stood Still or The Forbidden Planet?
Oh, yeah, I know all of them.
Yeah, okay. The Day the Earth Stood Still, the soundtrack is by Bernard Herrmann, one of my favorite composer. He is the composer of Hitchcock, of course. And I remember that kind of music too, and also jazz, all kind of music. Above all, when I was a kid, classic guitar, of course, Tarrega, of course, Carcassi, Sor, Segovia, and also a lot of time with my mates, Genesis, Pink Floyd. Yes, a lot of Genesis and Pink Floyd.
Yeah, good. Yeah, for one of my favorite bands. So Genesis is going to be touring here in next month. Genesis is coming to United States for 20 shows they're doing here, and then after that they're retiring completely. So I'm going to be seeing Genesis like 3 times in this tour. They play in DC and they play in North Carolina, and they're very, very good. And so I'm very happy. So when you went to study at university before you became a professor, you knew that kind of in a way you left the kind of rock and roll and you went into more classical female score. That's what you decided to go into that field, if you will.
No, I mean, actually it's different. When I started to study at the Conservatory 40 years ago, you only had to study classic music.
Okay.
Now it's different because the Conservatory where I teach is the Conservatory of Santa Cecilia is actually a university. Okay. And so I have courses from the bachelor to the master degree, and over a period of almost 5 years. Okay.
Yeah.
And I have actually a dozen of students from 23 to 48 years old. So they are not just boy, I mean. and they are already trained musician, of course, because you can't pretend to study music composition for film if you don't know the music language. You know what I mean? So they come from they are pianists, or they are composers, or they are orchestral conductors. No, it's a very specialized course. We have lesson one by one, just one by one, 1 hour or 2 hours, sometimes one by one. And the students have to write a symphonic score for scenes that I assign them, taken from well-known films, no, without the original soundtracks. And they have to rewrite an original orchestral score, but also have to record with computer sample music, you know, with sequencer music. Logic Pro or Cubase, they have to use a lot of computer to simulate an orchestra. And sometimes they also can performing with the real orchestra, their composition. So basically we have scenes, 2 or 3 minutes, one scene of 2 or 3 minutes, taken from movies, very well-known movies. We take off the original soundtrack, and they have to rewrite an orchestral score on paper or printed, whatever. And they have to record via computer. That's my job, exactly. I have to teach them how to do it, how it works. And it's very stimulating for me. It's because I as I told you, I have students from very well trained, very well music trained. So you talk with you have relation with musicians, basically.
Yeah. Wow, that's pretty good, because people were, and then toward the end of the master program, during the year they need to do. You give them assignments for a month where they need to 3 minutes out of a film. You hide the music, and they need to present it to you. They need to present it in front of an audience. How you know? Yeah.
They have to do examinations, and they have to present every time, every lesson. They have to present something. We work around the scene, maybe 4 or 5 weeks, and at the end of after 6 months, they have the examination.
And then what kind of film do you select for them to do? Is like Western, science fiction, horror?
Whatever. I know, you know, Claudio, they have to be prepared to afford every kind of problem, musical problem, every kind of comedy or dramas or action or fantasy, television, short movies, or cinema, mainstream, whatever.
Yeah, got you. Because right, different. Like in your case, right? If you look back in your discography, you have done a wide range of stuff.
Yeah, but I love to change. That's my, in my opinion, it's something that is something very good. You have to go every time. You have to try something different, and you don't repeat the same schemes. You know what I mean? And it's something that I feel alive every time, and I'm scared at the same time, because every time is new. So I like to afford every kind of genres, of music genres. I like it very much to change.
Yeah. Is any particular Italian director that you like, that you're the most fond of? And then if you could have dinner with two movie directors, dead or alive, right? Somebody invite you, one Italian and one non-Italian. Who that would be, and the reason?
Paolo Sorrentino, the Oscar winner, and I did. I got a dinner. I had the dinner with him. I didn't work with him still. I hope it will be possible in the future. At the moment, we just had a dinner. He's an Oscar Awards prize. He won an Oscar. Yeah. Of course, I love his movie, and I like very much the way he used the music on his movies.
Yeah. And then a non-Italian one. Who that would be?
And an Italian one, I have a very close friend of mine when I used to live in LA.
Yeah.
A very close friend is Ted Kotcheff. Ted Kotcheff is the director of Rambo, First Blood.
Yeah, First Blood, yeah.
And I was lucky because when I used to be in LA, the first movie, my first soundtrack in the United States was directed by Ted Kotcheff.
Correct.
And the title of the movie was The Shooter.
Yeah,
it was an action movie during the Cold War in Prague, shooted in Prague. And we became friends. We became friends, and we still are friends. We're still friends. And he's one of my favorite director. And also the other one I know, of course, still know very well, is Russell Mulcahy. I composed 2 soundtracks for Russell Mulcahy's movie. He's the director of Highlanders. You remember the movie Highlanders?
Yeah, Highlanders, yeah.
And so I was very lucky in my life to work with this kind of directors, still also in Italy and in US too, of course. But I was very lucky, and they are so different. I like to, as I told you before, I like to change. I like to experiment every time. I like to be scared. So if you are thrilled, if you are scared, you have a lot of stimulation. You have a lot of input, and you can try to renew your kind of production. That's my goal, mainly.
I got you. Do you like? I don't know if you like Bernard Herzog in Germany, and it's a famous group that composed a lot of film music for them. The name of the band is Popol Vuh in Germany. I don't think you know them. Probably not. They're very good. They're very different. I will coordinate with Lisa, and then I will send you some stuff, because I have huge. One day I will be able to finish to listen to it, but it's very Popol Vuh is very different from the stuff you do, but it's very good. I mean, it's very good. So so why you decided to form the ACMF, which is the Association of Music Composers for Film? Yeah, feel free to elaborate on that. Why that's very important.
Yeah, it is very important. It's a young organization. I mean, it's just 4 years ago. ACMF is the acronym of Film Music Composer Association. Okay, and I am one of the founding members. We decided to form it 4 years ago to represent and protect its members in their professional life, encouraging fair and transparent rules from creation to implementation to the management and the copyright too, and promoting the spread of musical culture and creativity. So not only for soundtrack, music generally. Yeah. And I often like to remember that cinema and soundtracks are the natural, Claudio, evolution of melodrama, the opera. We mean, when we say melodrama in Italy, we intend opera.
Opera, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, and I often like to remember that the natural evolution of the melodrama, of the opera, is cinema. I mean, where different form, you have a lot of different form of arts, no? Come together, you put together to communicate to the audience, okay? And you communicate a result that is greater than the sum of the parts.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
You are an engineer, so you know what is a non-linear process.
Yeah, I completely understand. Yeah.
So if you got a scene and you say, okay, this scene is very well done. My vote is 8. Fantastic. And you got a music. Okay, the music is good. 8 to the music. And you put together, if they work very well together, you don't have 8 plus 8, 16. You have 100, because it's right. a non-linear process.
Yeah.
So this is the goal of the ACMF, to promote the music, above all, of course, all the soundtracks, all about soundtracks. As I told you before, actually, we are almost 150 members, most of the Italian composers. Yeah.
And then you guys get together like a couple of times a year, do like a conference,
But, you know, in the last 2 years, we saw just in a conference call.
Yeah, with the
through, for the COVID problem, for the pandemic problem, only. But normally we see 5 or 6 times a year.
I got you. How's the situation in Italy with the COVID now, Stefano?
It's going, you know, it's going better actually, because I think one of the reasons is because we were the first to start. The beginning of the pandemic in Europe was here in Italy.
Yeah, yeah.
So probably we have a curve, you know, and we are finished in advance in compared to France or Germany or UK. I mean, UK is not Europe anymore. They are out.
Right. No, that's another problem altogether. But
that's another story.
That's right. It's kind of mandatory to get vaccinated in Italy, or no, or it's voluntary?
It's voluntary. Actually, it's voluntary.
But most of the people do it, or?
But there is a but. If you don't have the vaccine, you don't have the green pass. So it's not mandatory, but if you don't have the green pass, you don't go anywhere.
So you have to have it. Yeah. No,
more or less, you have to. More or less, you have to, if you want to move all around.
Yeah. No, I got vaccinated about like 6 months ago. So it's here in United States it's voluntary, but people were encouraged and companies were encouraged. You know, schools were encouraged to people to do it. So, but still, there's a lot of people in the United States that don't believe in the vaccine, whatever the reason that they have. You know, it affects everybody.
There is something strange, because I got twice the AstraZeneca vaccine.
Yeah.
And actually, I can't come in US with AstraZeneca. I don't know, but it works in this way.
Yeah. Wow.
I can't come there. I can't travel in US because I have AstraZeneca. So probably I will receive a third dose.
Yeah.
Pfizer or Moderna, whatever.
Yeah.
Just to travel all over the world.
Yeah, the 3 ones that are accepted coming here are Johnson & Johnson, Pfizer, and Moderna. And there is a link that I can send you the link where it showed exactly the requirement. If you come in from Germany, you need to have one of these 3. If you come in from Italy, you need to have one of the 3. Yeah.
And I know, not AstraZeneca. That AstraZeneca doesn't, I don't know why.
Have no idea.
I don't, because the Federal Drugs Administration recognize the AstraZeneca. You know, the FDA.
Yeah.
You have it there. They recognize the AstraZeneca vaccine. So I don't know why it didn't work. I don't know. Yeah,
good question. I wouldn't know the answer. Feel free to elaborate on your Richard Wagner. I know you like him and the influence that Richard Wagner have had on your music composition.
But I believe Richard Wagner has influenced the soundtrack more than any other composers. He is the inventor of the leitmotif. You know, the leitmotif, the main theme linked to a character or a situation that recurs every time we see the same character or situation. He invented this kind of setup. I wrote a book. Several years ago about him and the importance that his music had during the 20th century, with particular reference to the development of the Bayreuth Festival. You know, Bayreuth Festival still exists in Germany. It's a festival dedicated only to Wagner, okay? And this kind of the book I wrote, it was an opportunity to talk about the World War II from a musical point of view.
Oh, so I got you.
Yeah, because it's very strange. I wrote this book. I start writing the book talking about, of course, Richard Wagner, but you know why? Because it's sometime the music of Richard Wagner is not performed because it's associated to the Nazis. But Richard Wagner died 6 years in advance to when Hitler was born. So he didn't know anything about Nazis. And his music is wonderful. So I started to write this book about Richard Wagner to try to explain it wasn't his fault. Of course it wasn't. Then I realized it was very interesting to try to explain the story of the Second World, of the World War II from a musical point of view. There is a lot of interesting things that you can't imagine. And it was a nice experience. It took me 2 years to write that book.
Wow, yeah. Are you, and is that book only available in Italy, or is it another in Italian or another language?
Yeah, just in Italy. I mean,
yeah. Your student need to read that or no? It's mandatory for them to read the book or no? For your student at the Conservatory or no? No.
No. It was
just
something no, totally apart. No.
Wow, interesting. I never thought that. Yeah, I like Wagner, and I know that he has been associated with the Nazi regime. It had nothing to do with stuff like you mentioned it.
No.
You know, no idea why. Yeah, it's kind of
no. There is a reason, because during the Nazism, they use his music. They use a lot because Hitler loved his music, so he used a lot of Wagner music in the camps. You know.
Yeah.
That's why. But it's not Wagner's fault. It wasn't Wagner's fault. He died. Earlier.
Yeah. Well, I hope people were. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. But it's Richard Wagner here in the United States is very, very popular. I mean, you know, and you can there's many places that they play jazz, classical music, and opera houses, and you know, he's always had been very, very famous here in the United States, and so in terms of when composing, you know, who inspired you and which score do you love? I think that you in many ways answer the question. You at the beginning were doing some horror, then comedy, western. You change over time, right? You started with one genre and then you prefer to work in different.
No, as I said before, I think I express myself better with the music than with the words. So it comes more naturally to me. It is normal that in my work I draw inspiration from the scenes, of course, or the film, of theatrical scenes. Anyway, I draw the inspiration from something I see, of course. And it often happens to compose even following musical patterns. You know what I mean? That you study this kind of patterns, and you know that this work very well. It often happens in the action movie, no, especially intention scenes. Part of the teaching at the Conservatory concerns the study of psychoacoustic, and therefore which music formulas to adopt to convey a specific sensation to the viewer. So you know exactly that if I play this kind of chords, you provoke a sensation in the listener. You know exactly what to do. So of course, you hope that every time you have the inspiration to write a great soundtrack. but not every time. Not every time it happens. And when you don't have an inspiration, you can use this kind of pattern. You know how it works using the psychoacoustic science. You know exactly that that's kind of interval provoke in the listener a sensation different from a major chord is different from a minor chord.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Yeah, it's when somebody hire you to do like a film score for music, you can have the idea for reading at the beginning from reading the script that a director gave you, or you need to have very much the movie half finished in order for you to begin composing.
Claudio, I prefer every time to read the script first.
First, okay.
That's my favorite way of proceeding. But it's not possible every time. Sometimes you have to work about the final cut.
Yeah.
So the best way to work is to read the script. Sometimes, above all, when I was in LA, living with the writers, and you start with some ideas. You have a group. You can do some brainstorming, and it works very well. Then you go to the set. You stay with the actors, and you can breathe the story. Yeah, it grows up all together. And after you are alone, you write all your music, and you have time to what your ideas you have done before. But as I told you, Claudio, it's not possible every time. Sometimes you have to work on the final cut. And
yes.
Yeah.
You have no choice sometimes, right? Like you say.
Yeah, no. It's up to the production. Above all, it happens with television movies.
Yeah. What is the main, if you in your life, has been the main motivation to work with a particular genre, or to work with a particular director or a particular script before? I mean, beside money, right? Of course, you want to get paid well for what you do, but it's if you have only the script, like these 2 pages, right? Here, let's say I have a script. Is it difficult or easier for you to picture what the movie called for without the final, without having the final cut? I mean, it's difficult. I don't know, it seems to me that it will be a lot easier if I show you like a movie, and it's an action movie, a horror movie, and you know what type of music it requires, as opposed to go at the beginning and somebody give you a script. You don't know pretty much what the movie is going to be at the end based off that particular script. So I imagine that might be difficult to decide what kind of music it requires, right?
That's up basically your question is very interesting, Claudio, but that's up mainly, it's up to the movie, of the kind of movie. I mean, if you are to afford a drama with love themes, you read the script, you need a love themes, you read a dramatic music, and you can imagine, and you can play, and you can write, you can arrange it, and you can go ahead just with the script. But if you are going to afford an action movie, it doesn't work. I mean, you can imagine something very simple, but the main stuff in the action movie is the sync. You have to be synchronized with all the action. So you have to write the music frame by frame. You need the scene. You have to see, because it's not very important. In that case, the theme, the melody is not very important.
Yeah, in that particular frame, the next 10 seconds, this happened.
It's in an action movie, 10 seconds is a lot of time.
Oh yeah.
Not in a drama or in a love scene. Yeah. You can write in a different way. But with the action movie, you have to go ahead frame by frame, and you have to be tough, you have to be tight, you have to stay in touch with the frame and with all the synchronization.
Yeah, I imagine that it's difficult because, and then sometimes I imagine that, you know, a bad movie, right? And you were hired to do the job for the film composer, you cannot save a very bad movie. Perhaps you can save a particular scene within a bad movie, and somebody will say, man, that was a great piece of music from the next 10 seconds or 30 seconds or a film score. But the movie in general was, I don't know, terrible, right?
It happens.
Yeah,
it happens. You have wonderful soundtracks, but the movies, you know, is not so good. But it happens also the opposite.
Yeah,
you have a great movie, and the music is so and so. But you know, something very interesting, Claudio, is when you write a soundtrack and you see a scene, you can try, you can test several kind of music you are writing, you are working around on the same scene.
That's right.
And it changes totally the perception. So I mean, it seems like you change the cut of the scene, but the scene is always the same. The music changed, but the scene is the same. So it's very important to understand that you can do a lot with the music. You can guide the listener in a way, and you have to tell something that the scene deserves.
Right, absolutely right. So you have a particular scene like this interview with you, and you write 5 different 10 seconds, let's say, right? Let's say the scene is 10 seconds and you write the first 10 seconds, then the next 10 seconds, the next 10 seconds. Do you end up using the other one? That who decide which one of the 10 seconds will go in the movie? You decide, the director?
It's up to, there is no just one formula, Claudio. It's up to the director, it's up to you. It depends on if you are working around a mainstream movie, if you have a very strong production or not. Basically, it starts with a session called spotting section. Yeah. And you see that at the very end of the movie, you see the final cut with the director and the producer. Yeah. You sit down with them, and you decide together where to put music and which kind of music to use.
I got you.
But at that point, if the director or the producer called you, Claudio, they know exactly what you can do.
Right. Because they know you for your previous work. So, right.
Of course. The difficult stuff is to begin.
That's right, because nobody knows even. And yeah, the music, the music, right, that's right. The music that you end up not using in a film, you keep it to see down the road you can use it for another film or a compilation of unused music, or
I mean, I don't rush it. I mean, I have some ideas in my secret pockets, and I use sometimes, and I love theme, an idea, an action. Yeah. It happens, of course. You can, as I told you before, Claudio, you can't pretend to wake up every time 5 in the morning like this with a fantastic idea, you know? No, it happens. It happens, not every time. So you have to be ready, because you have a very, very tough schedule in the music, in the movie business. In the movie business, it's very hard. Above all, Claudio, you are the last ring of the chain. They are waiting only for you. And every time they call you, did you finish? Have you done? It's time to, we have to mix. We have to see the movie. We have to finish. So it's very tough, and it happens that you work 18 hours a day, night and day for 1 or 2 months.
Wow.
It happens. It
So
happens.
in average, it could take up to 2 months to write a.
It's up to the movie. Could be.
Yeah.
Could be if you need, if you have a movie of 3 hours and you need 2 hours of music, you need, sometimes you need, you can consider, Claudio, to write, if you want to write in one day, you can write a symphonic score, I mean, or philharmonic symphonic score, very big score. You can consider something around 1 minute, maximum 2 minutes a day. Maximum 2 minutes a day.
My God.
But if you are going to afford an action movie, 2 minutes, it's not. No, maybe 1 minute for an action movie.
Wow, I didn't know that was take. Yeah.
It's hard. It's tough.
Yeah. So you devote yourself to whatever 2 months working 7 days a week, day and night.
Sometimes 2 months, sometimes 1 month, and of course it's up to the movie. And you work on Christmas, Christmas Day or Eve, Christmas Eve. You work on whatever, night and day. You have to. They are not interested in your
life.
Exactly. They
your personal life.
Just want the soundtrack. They just want the music.
Yeah, and they will call you every day. It's rain, it's rain.
There is something interesting to understand, that when you produce a movie, you don't have all the producer normally don't have the money altogether. He got the money step by step from other producer, from banks, from all over. But if you present your movie without music, the guy who gave you the money, they don't understand the movie. I say, you can say, okay, on this scene we will have the music of the love theme. It doesn't work. They don't understand. So they often use theme track, keeping music from other films, from other movies. But at the very end, they are waiting just for you with the original soundtrack.
To put your music, right? With the money now is on the table, and people.
Of course, they want to. They have to show the final cut with the music too, to all the guys who made who put the money. That's very important.
Yeah. Has it happened to you that they shoot the movie, you have to do the music, is ready, and then the financiers say, no, I don't like it, I will back up? What happened? Is it an unused music? It has happened?
I mean, you are talking about a rejected soundtrack.
Yeah.
Never, I'm lucky, it never happened to me. But there are a lot of examples, very famous example in the score history. For example, the most famous probably is Space Odyssey by Stanley Kubrick. Yeah. Stanley Kubrick called Alex North, a very famous and a great composer, and asking him to compose all the soundtrack for 2001 Space Odyssey, okay? And he recorded the most 40 minutes of music for that movie, okay? But when he recorded in London, when he went in LA to see the first control spotting, he realized that there wasn't one note he wrote, because Stanley Kubrick only used music from Ligeti, from Strauss, from everything from classic composer. He didn't use one note from Alex North.
Wow.
No, there is no one note. There is no note from, no one cue, no note from. But when Alex North died, his friend Jerry Goldsmith, very, very famous American soundtrack composer, decided to record the original soundtrack by Alex North, and exists, and I have the album, the Alex North reacted score that conducted by Jerry Goldsmith. This is a sad story, but it's true.
Yeah. Wow. No, I didn't know that. Yeah. Also, if you remember the movie, the original movie, The Exorcist, from 1973, they
Tubular Bells.
Yeah, they end up they hired another film composer to do it, and the director, no, this is terrible, I don't like it, and then he ended up using Mike Oldfield, Tubular Bells. So
Mike Oldfield, Tubular
yeah.
Bells.
Oh, that's a beautiful. That's a very scary movie for me.
It was very scary. You know, Claudio, I saw that movie once in my life when I was 18. I don't want to see it anymore. It's scary too much. Also, I'm 64 actually, but I can't see that movie.
I have seen that movie about 10 times, okay? I know exactly the script. I know exactly what is going to happen. I know exactly, anyway. And still I get scared all the time.
But you know,
the movie was so well done and the soundtrack so appropriate that I still get scared after 10 times, and I know exactly what's happening.
Yeah, but you know why? I think you are from Chile.
From Chile.
No, from Chile. Yeah. I am from Rome, Vatican. So both, we know very well what is the devil and what about the Christianity. Because for us, okay, it's a fiction, it's a fantasy movie, but there is something could be true. That's why it's so scary, I think, for us.
Yeah, yeah. It's a very, very good movie. I get scared all the time that I see that. The movie. Yeah, you have to do I think you're right, because in our brain, right? I grew up in a Catholic family, and in Italy, everybody with the Pope and everybody.
Of course,
the majority of people are Catholic. You know, they look at the devil and say, no.
We have the exorcist in Rome. We have the real exorcist in the Catholic Church.
Yeah,
they have 115 exorcists, real exorcists.
Yeah.
So it's something that is a movie, but could be true. Who knows? I mean, it's scary. Yeah. That's why it's scary. It's so scary for us. Maybe it's not so scary for others.
Other right.
Exactly.
The priest, the bishop that wrote the ritual, it was from Chile.
Yeah, I know. No, very, very well. He's a great actor.
Yeah. He wrote. It's a very, very famous guy in Chile. It's complicated stuff, man. And what looking back in your career, right? You have done a lot of stuff. Is any particular, whether the movie was popular or not, is any particular music that you are, the most proud of, in your opinion?
There are a lot of music that the last one. I mean, the last one is every time is the best for me.
Yeah.
Because as I told you at the beginning of our interview, it's something that moves me to go every time to do something better. The last one is the one I prefer. Maybe because I changed several kinds of genres of music. Maybe for this, the last one is every time is the best.
The best one you have ever done. Yeah, I got you. And I wanna bring you to a couple of following track. I always listen to some of your music in Spotify, and feel free to elaborate. In this particular track called "Timing," I got that from an album. I think it was a classical string compilation. The time is about, I think, like 3 minutes or so. It moves me a lot. It's very. Feel free to elaborate how you compose it. It's a beautiful.
Timing is a title of a cue from a short movie.
Yeah.
The movie was called 15 Seconds.
Yeah.
And it was a film against the death penalty. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
15 seconds, the title, is the duration of the shock of the electric chair.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
So it's a very dramatic cue. I remember what you're talking about. And it is the tragic story of a man sentenced to death. I wrote this dramatic theme initially only for piano solo, okay? But probably the version you listen to is the one I recorded later with two great Italian musicians with whom I have the honor of collaborating for years, Luca Pincini and Gilda Buttà, respectively cello and piano. You probably listen to cello and piano version.
Yeah, that's the one that I know. Yeah.
These two guys, they often play this cue during their concert all around the world, and I love them and they are such beautiful performers. I often work with them. I love them. Luca Pincini and Gilda Buttà.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful piece. Thank you very much. What about the Orgoglio from the Capitolo? That's a beautiful piece.
You know, you like the, it means pride, yeah. In English, Orgoglio. In English.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a beautiful story because also it involves my private life. I was starting to work on this television series from the Rai. You know, Rai is the Italian network.
Yeah.
I started to work to this, which then lasted 3 years because there are 39 episodes in 3 years.
Yeah.
It is a mellow, it's a drama. It's a drama set in the early years of the last century. The story of a young and beautiful, rich, noble girl who falls in love with a farmer. Classic. I mean,
of course.
Oh, now, listen, Claudia, this is interesting. Normally, we composers, when we write a love theme, we have to fall in love with the characters very quickly. I mean,
yeah.
Write something believable. And you have to do most of the time, you don't know the actress, but you have to figure out how to fall in love with her. Well, in that case, Orgoglio, it was not difficult at all because the female protagonist was the one who would soon become my wife.
Really?
Really. And
wow.
The music theme you're talking about, that cue is dedicated to her, and is entitled Per lei, and per lei in Italian is for her. Yeah. Anyway, after 20 years, we are still together.
That's good.
Nice story, huh? Nice story.
Of course, yeah. So when the director, when the movie producer pay you, you know, for composing, you need to give the check to your wife because you did it. She did half the amount, right? You know, it's a really beautiful piece. And I saw the Capitolo. I think you mentioned that 23 episodes in general. You mentioned
the Orgoglio, 39 episodes in 3 years.
Yeah.
And wow. I recorded in Sofia in Bulgaria with the CIF 309. That's a wonderful symphonic orchestra of the national radio, Bulgarian national radio.
Yeah.
I often conducted that orchestra for almost 20 times for 20 soundtracks, something around.
Yeah. How many soundtracks have you done? You know?
Yeah, if you consider the title, just the title, for example, you have to share the situation. I mean, for example, Orgoglio are 39 episodes.
Right.
One episode is almost 2 hours. And I wrote all the episodes in 3 years. And actually, they are 39 movies. But I consider only one title, Orgoglio. So if you consider just the title, I wrote something around 100 projects.
Yeah, good. Wow, it's a lot, man.
But if you consider the episodes, I wrote more than 300.
Right, if you consider, yeah. Everything is available on CD or soundtrack, or some stuff have been lost?
Yeah. There is you can go first of all. You can go to my site.
Yep.
www.stefanomainetti.com.
Yeah.
If you go there, you can find all the links about especially the stores, the online stores specializing in soundtracks. But also, if you go on YouTube, on YouTube and you digit my name and music, you find a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Do you get? Of course, you get paid when people go to YouTube and listen to your stuff, right? You get a click, and every so often you get paid a little bit, because sometimes they don't get paid at all.
There is a sad story. It's a sad story, Claudio, this one, because YouTube, Spotify, Apple, iTunes, all the streaming music, there is very, 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 very few money from that. Very, very few money from that. Almost nothing.
Wow.
Almost, it's different. It worked when you used to buy the CD. It worked, but with the streaming, very few money.
Wow. So the only way, and I don't know if you're familiar with the website, the Bandcamp.
No.
With Bandcamp, when people buy your music, right? Then you get paid.
Yeah, it's different. Yeah, of course.
You get a good percentage.
Yeah,
but just to streaming, you get 0.0007.
Streaming is a disaster for composers all over the world.
Yeah, it's tough. I didn't know that you got paid that less. So the only way for you to make money is right now for the stream. Keep on composing, and then or sell. People going to your website and buy a CD or an album, a vinyl, whatever from your school. Otherwise, you won't get paid anything, right? So.
Yeah, or you are paid. You are hired by the producer when you write a soundtrack.
Correct. Yeah, that's the way you can do it. And another one that I like is Salmo 23 from the album Il Signore il mio pastore. It's very emotional for me. That's a beautiful piece. Man.
Yeah. That's a part of my spiritual kind of music that I afford in my life. Salmo 23 is a work that was commissioned by the Vatican. And the melodies are by Piera Cori, also singers. And I wrote the instrumental parts, the arrangements, I made the arrangements, and I played the guitars and the keyboards. Lyrics are in Hebrew. And if you remember, she says every time, Adonai roi exar, Adonai roi lo exar. It means the Lord is my shepherd. Yeah. Lord is my shepherd.
Yeah, no, it's a beautiful piece. Also, I noticed in your discography that you compose the music from the World of Promise, which is an audio drama of the Bible. I think they're like 79 CDs or 80 CDs, something like that.
79 CDs. And, it's a strange story. The Word of Promise is a strange story. It took me more than 2 years to write that project. And it was almost 10 years ago. Yeah, it was. I tell you the story, Claudia, anyway. It was 2004, and Mel Gibson was filming The Passion of the Christ. Yeah. And, the protagonist of The Passion of the Christ was Jim Caviezel. And Jim, during the shooting, loved training by listening my music. I recorded for, I don't know if you read the Santa, maybe I can tell you later on. I recorded 3 albums for the Popes, writing music for the Popes. And Jim Caviezel loved the kind of music I wrote. And he used to train to prepare the scene for The Passion of the Christ, listening to my music.
Wow.
I didn't know anything about this. Anyway, so he asked, Jim asked Mel Gibson to hire me to compose the score for The Passion of the Christ. But the production has already made previous arrangements. So, but I didn't know anything about this, okay? 1 year later, Jim Caviezel became the protagonist of this audio drama, The Word of Promise. Jim Caviezel is the protagonist of this audio drama. And he remembered he liked my music. So he asked the producer to reach me to write the soundtrack of this project.
Gotcha, yeah.
Which, as you say, is the Bible. Is the Bible from the beginning of the Old Testament to the end of the New Testament. I was very happy, of course, to accept, and it was a colossal, Claudio, it was a huge project, 79 CDs,
My
with
God,
as many hours, since it's an audio CDs, as many hours of symphonic music, 79 hours of symphonic music is a lot of music, with the participation of 600 actors, wow, including 3 Academy Awards, Lou Gossett Jr., Marisa Tomei, and Richard Dreyfuss.
Yeah, wow.
Okay? And I worked for more than 2 years on this huge project, recording in Sofia, that I know very well, the orchestra, the National Radio Symphonic Orchestra, SIF 309 in Sofia in Bulgaria. And I recorded everything there in Sofia. And then I moved to Tennessee, where I had the honor to conduct the Nashville Symphonic Orchestra, Nashville, of course, to present the project for the first time in US.
Wow.
But it was a very huge project. You can find it in everywhere, on Amazon or whatever, whenever you want. Whenever you search The Word of Promise, you can find it.
I hope you got paid well.
I hope. I remember it seems, yeah. They did.
Yeah. If you were looking, if you were not a film composer, right? For whatever reason, what else would you have done in your life? Is any particular area that you like? If you couldn't do music, what else would you have done for a living? You know, when you finish high school.
But if I hadn't been a composer, I would have liked to invent toys for children. I think it's something I love, to invent stuff. Yeah. And I love children. So probably another things I really love is cosmology.
Really?
And as an engineer, you can understand what I mean. And probably if I have had time, I would have liked to graduate in physics. I love physics.
It's not too late. You still do it.
I have a lot of stuff to do anyway. I would. You're right. Never late. Maybe in another life.
in the next life, you know.
Anyway, loving both music and physics, I created 4 years ago, or 4 years ago, a project entitled Rendering Revolution. I don't know if you saw something about rendering revolution.
No, I didn't know. I don't know if you know.
And I presented this project at the Maxi. The Maxi is the Museum of Modern Art in Rome. Rendering Revolution is an audiovisual experience where music, painting, dance, video art melt within a specific space. Okay? Try to imagine a specific space. Through a musical continuum, the spectator is guided the observation of 4 artworks, each representing a revolution. This rendering revolution, by using a particular compositional technique, introduce a new element into the perception of music, the space. Here, the music changes along with the position of the spectator. So if you move in this space, you can change the music.
Yeah.
Because if you think about this, normally, the plastic art, like architects or of paintings, needs space. You don't need time, you need space for picture. Music needs time, doesn't need space. With this experience, I try to use the space in music. So you, the spectator, are decide with your position, and you change the music, deciding the kind of music with your position. The more you change your position, the more it changes the music. So of course, it's difficult to explain in words, but if you are interested, Claudio, to this kind of magic box, you please visit www.renderingrevolution.net.
Yeah, I will check it out. Yeah.
Revolution.net if you are interested. It's a very strange, and you know something, I tell you because you are an engineer, there is something particular that I love in the physics that is called experiment EPR, Einstein, Podolsky, Rose. And it's something about subatomic particles. If you divide a subatomic part, an atom, if you divide, and one part of this atom goes in a part of the universe, and the other part of the atoms goes in the other parts of the universe, they are anyway related and linked anyway. They are linked together. It's something that is called entanglement.
Yeah.
Okay. And this kind of music experiment I did, try the inspiration from this. You are connected every time, as when you move inside this space, you are every time connected with this kind of music that change your perception inside this magic box. It's difficult to explain, but if you go to renderingrevolution.net, you can easily understand what I mean.
Yeah, I will check it out this afternoon. Yeah, it got my attention. It's very interesting stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, it's complicated to grab your hand around entanglement.
Let's. If you go there, then you let me know.
Yeah, I will. No, definitely check it out. Do you? I have only another 2 questions. You have tour, and you have played in different part of the world, in different cities, and with different orchestra. Is any particular concert, or perhaps it's the one from Memphis, that you look back and say, man, everything was beautiful. You could have died that night and go to heaven as a Catholic, person, because everything was good.
Yeah, I remember with great pleasure, in particular, one concert by Sarah Vaughan. Yeah. Sarah Vaughan was a great singer, a jazz singer here in Rome. Yeah. Another one I remember very well is the one of Earth, Wind and Fire in Monte Carlo 20 years ago. Yeah, 20, maybe 25 years ago. Time passed anyway. And when I was a student, this is a nice story. I remember Herbert von Karajan came in the Vatican conducting the Mozart Requiem Mass. Okay. Cesare Croci assisted Karajan in preparing the orchestra in St. Peter Abbey. But Cesare Croci was also my teacher, too.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So it was very exciting to observe the concert from the beginning to the rehearsal till the end. I remember I was in my 20s. It was a very thrilling experience.
Yeah, I got you.
Very nice. That's
the story. Beautiful, beautiful for you. Yeah. And the last one, question. What are the plans for the near future? What are you working right now? And hopefully you want to be touring with an orchestra or going.
But I'm actually writing theatrical music here in Italy, theatrical dramas. And I just started again, Claudio, because as I told you, everything had stopped due to the COVID problem, to the pandemic.
Yeah.
So the production quit. And I hope there is the opportunity to restart working on a very interesting French project called Chart 1821. Chart 1821 is a project, a French project, where an ensemble of artists, scientists and philosophers brought together by Emmanuel de Maximotin, stage director of the Théâtre de la Ville in Paris. He's promoting international theater. Yeah. And through the realization of theatrical performance, just with young people and just for young people.
Gotcha.
Okay. Yeah. That's very interesting. As a composer, I am part of this project and can wait, of course, to restart working about it. And also, I just finished writing the soundtrack on the Tennessee Williams play, Sweet Bird of Youth. I don't know if you remember the movie with Paul Newman.
Paul Newman, yeah, the whole.
Yeah. Is the Sweet Bird of Youth. This is a Tennessee Williams play. And we are in theater, actually. And the you know something, Claudio, the star is my wife. She's an actor, as I told you before. Yeah. And
for you, man.
Yeah. And the director is Pierluigi Pizzi. He is a very famous director in all over the world, especially for opera director. And also, I'm starting another theatrical project about an Afghan writer. It's very interesting. I start next week. Other thing, the academic year at the Conservatory of Santa Cecilia is starting right now, and I have 3 of my students are about to graduate, so it will be hard work there. And about the concert, it's still too early, as here in Italy. Yeah, because the concert halls have not yet fully opened, and it's still difficult to travel abroad, as I told you before, with the AstraZeneca for me. Probably I need the 3rd dose of vaccine. We'll see. Anyway, I don't perform a lot, Claudio. I prefer to compose. That's my job. Yeah. I conduct and I perform in a recording studio. Every time I conduct my music, my composition. But I did sometimes performing concert, but very few. My job is to compose. I love to compose. That's my life.
Well, Stefano, thank you very much. I'm quite sure we will need to do a part 2 of this interview, because there is a lot of stuff that I know you're busy. We don't have the time to cover it, but I wanted to thank Lisa Bernardini to put me in touch with you. She's doing a very good job in Italy with all the composer, film composer, movie director. So she's got a great job for her. So I'm very grateful to her for her to put us together. And hopefully I'm going to be in Italy soon, and I would like to invite you to dinner or lunch.
Of course, let me know.
Yeah, I will definitely. Thank you very much. Appreciate it for your time, man. Take it easy. Thank you. Appreciate it. Good luck to you, man.
Okay, good luck.